Chapter 14. The Heartwood Hoax. Even before breakfast was served, the ballroom was bustling with guests, notes in paws and claws. The staff gathered near the stage, while the guests, many still in their nightcaps and gowns, crowded in the middle of the room. Miss J was standing on a table with her book, asking another guest, a chatty chipmunk, some pointed questions. Sibyl was comforting and admiring Shrew, who was very disappointed the swallow would not be singing that night. Lord Sudbury was pacing, his tail trembling, with Lady Sudbury, whose fur was in curlers, by his side. There, my sweet, she said. There's nothing to fret about. But Mona knew differently. It seemed strange to see the ballroom so colorfully decorated, with holly berries and spiderweb snowflakes hanging from the ceiling, and the tables draped in leaf skeleton lace, when tonight's celebrations had been cancelled. Mr. Heartwood strode onto the stage under a banner that read First Snow Festival. He straightened his tie and cleared his throat. Good morning, he said. As you know, there has been a change of plans. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, we must delay this festive day. Everyone started asking questions at once. But why? Said the chipmunk. That's why I came here, complained the shrew. I was planning to dance till my paws hurt. And the decorating, added a small rabbit. Yes, explain yourself, Mr. Heartwood, demanded Lady Sudbury. Mr. Heartwood tugged at his robe. The reasons are complicated, but you will be compensated. This I promise. And there will be complimentary hot honey and acorn cookies tonight, and Heartwood Hotel cards to play with. Cards and cookies, cried the chipmunk. That's crumbs. I'm heading home. Me too. No festival means no fun, said the shrew. No, you must stay, exclaimed Mr. Heartwood. It isn't safe. Not safe? Screeched the shrew. What do you mean? I knew it, cried Lord Sudbury, his tail a-tremble. We're under attack! It's the wolves! They're here at last! The guests gasped. They are not here, said Mr. Heartwood, trying to calm everyone down. But they are, well, near. That was the wrong thing to say. Now all the guests were panicking. Lord Sudbury's tail began to shake violently. Sibyl looked frightened. I still can't fly properly, she moaned. Miss J was pacing on top of a table, writing furiously. You must stay here, said Mr. Heartwood. We all must hide. No, we have to run away, cried a guest. Others joined in with their suggestions. Mona listened from her spot by the stage, her ears twitching. Running or hiding, those were the choices. Running or hiding, that's what small animals like her did. That's what she had done all her life. She had run away from the Heartwood because she was afraid she had made a mistake. But she was happy she had let in the Junebug, and proud of helping the Sudburys and making friends with Sibyl. She was especially proud of helping Brumble. She didn't want to run anymore, or hide either. She didn't want the wolves to ruin everything. She wanted to have the festival. She wanted to decorate the tree. And just as she thought that, she had an idea. A way to decorate a tree and get rid of the wolves. It was time to take Brumble up on his offer. It's time that we made the wolves run and hide for a change, cried Mona, excited. Mona didn't realize she had said it aloud, but she had, and loudly too. Loudly enough that it cut through the other conversations and the animals turned to her. The wolves? What do you mean? You've got to be kidding. But then Sibyl said strongly in her sweet voice, Wait, I want to hear. What is it, Mona? What is your plan? And so Mona explained. And as she explained, the eyes of the animals grew wide and bright with the power of a big idea, of a brave idea, of a brilliant idea. Fernwood Forest was dark when the animals made their way upstream. Of course, many of the guests stayed safely in the hotel. Mr. Sudbury hid in his room, but quite a few did join in, which was good since it took the work of many paws and claws and wings to lift the lanterns upstream to the big hollow tree where Brumble slept. The animals barely spoke, just scurried, swift and silent as only small animals can be. They brought peppermint, too, in big bundles, to line Brumble's tree and mask his scent, another part of Mona's plan. It was cold and blustery and the air smelled like snow. Mona held tight to her unlit lantern, which swung wildly back and forth. When the howls of the wolves were carried by the wind, all the animals paused, and only when the sound faded did they start again. When they reached the big tree, they stopped. The sound of snoring rumbled from inside. I'll wake him, said Mona. I know Brumble. No one, not even Mr. Heartwood, argued. Mona set down her lantern and scurried through the opening, into the darkness and the smell of fur and fish and berries. Quickly, her eyes adjusted, and she realized she was standing right in front of Brumble's nose. She gulped. Brumble was a lot bigger than she had remembered. It was one thing to imagine the plan. Imagine Brumble happily agreeing. But would he really be so happy to be woken from his sleep? Mona wasn't sure. She gulped again. She could turn back, run away, hide. But she didn't. And so she said in her biggest voice, "Brumble, wake up!" Brumble's ear twitched, but his eyes did not open. "Brumble, wake up!" she tried again. Brumble's other ear twitched. He snorted, but still he snored on. Mona reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a piece of honeycomb wrapped in a leaf. She had brought it just in case. It was very sticky. "Brumble, please! It's Mona!" she cried for the third time in her very loudest voice, and held up the honeycomb. The bear's nose wiggled. His tongue stuck out, and with a big lick he gobbled up the honeycomb, covering Mona's paw in drool. Good," he mumbled, his eyes flickering open. He gave a huge yawn. Mona tumbled backward from the force of it. Brumble looked at her sleepily and said, "Gosh, it's you!" I'm so sorry to disturb you, Brumble," stammered Mona, "but I need your help." It took Mona a few tries to explain the idea, because Brumble kept falling back asleep. But when he finally heard and understood it all, he liked it well enough. "Those noisy wolves are the reason I had to move my home in the first place," he grumbled. And Brumble especially liked Mr. Hartwood's offer of more honeycomb and berries as well, to be ready for him upon spring awakening. And so Mona went back out and told everyone Brumble was in agreement. The first part of the plan had worked. The next, lining the tree with peppermint, was easy enough too. But putting up the lanterns proved much more difficult. The wind blustered, and it made balancing on the branches with the lanterns very difficult. The walnuts were too big for Mona to hang up herself. So while the squirrels and chipmunks and birds hooked the lanterns onto the branches, she took the most dangerous job, lighting them. When they were all up and ready, Mona scrambled back and forth, balancing oh so carefully on the limbs, and lit each candle. The flames flickered in the wind, but miraculously stayed lit. Soon there were only a few more candles to light, but Mona wanted to get every last one. The candles were small and would burn down quickly. If the wolves didn't see the light, if the tricks didn't work, it would be her fault. And so she stayed, lighting lantern after lantern until the very last one was ablaze. When she was finished, she blew out her candle, climbed down to join the others, and looked up. The tree was beautiful, as though it were hung with stars. For a second, Mona didn't feel like a tiny mouse at all, but big as a bear, maybe even as big as a tree. "It's not the Heartwood, but it just might do," said Mr. Heartwood with a nod. "As long as the wolves think so too." Just as he said the words, "Oh!" the howls made Mona jump. "Come quickly," commanded Mr. Heartwood. The few animals remaining obeyed at once, scurrying away from the tree into the bushes out of sight. "Ooh!" The howls grew louder, closer. "Stop," commanded Mr. Heartwood. "We'll make too much noise if we move." It was true, but what would they do? They had no peppermint left to disguise their scent. "As long as the wolves head to the tree, we shall be safe," said the badger. "As long as the plan works." Would it? Mona hoped so with all her heart. She could hear the wolves even louder now. "Woo!" as Mona peered out between the branches of the bush. She couldn't see the wolves yet, but she could see Brumble's tree glittering in the darkness. All at once she froze. Not just the tree was glittering. The forest was too, with eyes. The yellow eyes of the wolves. Any moment now they would find the tree. Any moment they would see the lanterns too. And then something terrible happened. A great gust of wind tore through the forest, so strong it whipped back branches, snapped away twigs, and with a mighty whoosh, blew out the lanterns. Chapter 15, Being Brave. "Oh no," whispered Mona. She turned with wide eyes to Mr. Heartwood, who looked horrified too. Tilly was shaking, twisting her tail this way and that. "What will we do? What will we do?" she repeated. Mona gazed back at the tree. All the lanterns were out, at least on the left. But maybe some were still lit on the other side. She had no chance to find out, for at that very moment the wolves slunk into the clearing. I thought I saw something, said one. It was the wolf wearing the badge around his neck, Gnarl. He looked up at the dark side of the tree and shook his head. Well, you didn't, said another. It was just your imagination. He growled in frustration. And now you're making me imagine things too. I swear I can smell them. Another wolf sniffed. I can too. I can too. Over there. The wolf pointed with his nose in the very direction of the bushes where they were hidden. He sniffed deeply. This isn't imagination. I smell meat. I smell fur. I smell food. Mona's heart raced. Mr. Hartwood and Tilly were pressed up against her. She could feel Mr. Hartwood trembling and the pounding of Tilly's heart. The sound of sniffing filled the air. Any second now the wolves would find them. The wind was only a whisper now, but strong enough to carry their scent to the wolves' noses, strong enough to sway the branches of the big tree, and reveal a flicker of light. A lantern! It had to be! The lanterns were still lit on the other side of the tree. But the wolves would never see them now, not unless Mona did something. And so she did. She burst out of the bushes before Tilly or Mr. Hartwood could stop her. The wolves saw her at once. Hey! Cried one. That meat is mine! No, it's mine! Cried another. Mona scurried faster than she ever had before, as fast as a jackrabbit. The wolves were right behind her. She hopped over the roots, tumbled over a fallen twig, regained her footing, and ran to the other side of Brumble's tree. The lanterns were still lit on this side, but Mona did not stop to admire them. Not at all. She flung herself into the opening, landing with a thud against the bear's great furry side. She had made it. Her breathing was sharp and quick, and her heart was pounding. Brumble's eyes flickered open. He had fallen asleep again. Mona, he started. Hush, said Mona. The wolves, she whispered, gesturing to the opening. Ah, said Brumble, nodding knowingly, and they both pricked their ears to hear. The lights are here. It is the tree, said one of the wolves. Isn't as fancy as I figured, said another. Isn't as big as I thought either. Big enough, Wince. Stop your complaining. No wonder we smelled all those tasty treats. We're here. We found it. The Hartwood at last. Hush! Hush! Not too loud now or we'll alert them. We've got to be sneaky. What are you, stupid? That mouse will alert them right away. Come on. I can't smell any animals, only peppermint, griped Wince. Minty meat, yum, said another. Forget it. It's the lights that matter. Yeah, said another. And look, the door is open. Come on, you and me, Wince. We'll go first. Mona pressed herself against the side of the tree, holding her breath, peering through a small knothole, watching as the two wolves began to creep their way in. Brumble's fur bristled and then... Roar! Brumble's growl shook the tree from top to bottom. Yip, 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 cried the two wolves as they flew backward, tumbling over each other. Their eyes were wide with fright. What is it? What's going on? Cried the others, but the two wolves had no time to respond, for out came Brumble, no longer slow or bumbling, but huge and ferocious, standing on his hind legs and roaring. The wolves cowered. Brumble growled and swatted at the air. The pack of wolves, too stunned to fight back, whimpered, turned tail, and fled. Fled into the forest, fled across the stream, fled and were gone into the darkness. Brumble snorted and dropped down to all fours. With a satisfied grunt, he lumbered back into his den. He gave a big yawn. Ha! That should teach him. Thank you, said Mona. I promise I won't bother you again. But Brumble didn't respond. He was already asleep. Mona smiled and suddenly felt very tired herself. Tired, but happy. The plan, her plan, had worked.